Hi, this is Tori Quizmundo, your teacher. The purpose of this video is to give you an idea of what Excel is all about. Let's get started. On my Windows PC, I'm going to my search box and I'm going to type EXCE and Excel will come up. I'm going to choose to open Excel. This is Office 2019. When it comes up, I've got some different templates that I could use. Let's say I needed a calendar. I could select from a calendar. I could select from some of the other templates that are available in here. Maybe if I needed to create a monthly budget, a household budget, there are a lot of templates that are available in here. When you took your Word certification, you probably had a question that asked you to go in and select a template. I don't believe they do that in Excel, but I wanted to mention templates to you. And once you get to this part here, you could always search for a template as well. But we're going to click and open a blank workbook. And inside of that blank workbook, it's going to be called Book 1. If you look at the very top of your screen, it's called Book 1. Excel is a workbook. It's just like having a binder with tabs in it. And if you look at the bottom, you in fact do have sheet tabs. And if you wanted to add more sheet tabs into your quote binder or your book to separate things out, or to put your content on, you just do this little plus them up right here, which is called your new sheet plus button, and you could add as many sheet tabs as you wanted to your book. And so that's the main structure. It is considered a workbook, and when you hit save, everything is saved in your workbook. Okay, so right here, if you look on the screen, you can see there are letters going across the top and numbers going down the side. When you identify your cell references, you do that by a combination of a letter number. For example, my active cell is cell D4. An active cell is the cell that you're clicked into. This little area right here is called your name box. If I look in my name box, it will give me an idea of where I'm located. I'm in cell D4. I'd like to mention to you that Excel is called the big grid, and it's called that for a reason. If I were to arrow right, you can see I've gone through the alphabet once, through the alphabet twice. Many big businesses use Excel because it has such a large capability. When we use Excel, we're using just a very small piece of it. I'm going to stop there, but now I'm going to down arrow. And if you look as I down arrow, it will go into the 100s, into the 200s, into the 300s. For example, right now, my active cell is SH265. So I just wanted to tell you that Excel is called the big grid. There are a lot of cells in Excel. There are a lot of opportunities in there. I'm going to click in my name box and type A1. It does not have to be capital, and hit enter. That will bring me back to cell A1. So not only will it tell you what cell you're in, but if you want to go to a cell, you can type it in there and it will guide you there. There's a couple of quick things that I would like to mention to you guys before we get into Excel. Of course, at the top, you still have your quick access toolbar, and it has save, undo, and redo. And on this particular one, it also has the touch mouse mode because I'm using a touch screen. But you can select this down arrow and add anything. Maybe if I'd like to add quick print, I could add that to my quick access toolbar. I know my son is always copying stuff from the internet, so he's gone in and decided to add into his quick access toolbar the little erase button that'll erase your formatting. So every single button you could ever want can be added in here. If you don't see it there, you could say more commands, and you've got every single command that's in Excel. You could add that. If I wanted to add email, I could add that over, and now that is on my quick access toolbar. So it really is just that easy to add things up here to your quick access toolbar. The next thing you're going to see up here is my title. My title right now is Book 1 because I haven't named this yet. If I were to save this as maybe, call something called classwork, you would see the title up there. All right. And also, too, I get the save as type. And you probably saw this on your Word test that you might be asked to save it as a different type. For example, you might be asked to save it as text, or you might be asked to save it as a CSV file, or you may be asked to save it as a PDF. So that little down arrow is a quick and easy way for you to change your file structure of how you're saving it. All right, I'm going to leave mine as an Excel workbook. It's now called classwork, and so now when I look in there, I've got my title across the top. And then I've got these little buttons over here. If you've not paid any attention to those, this first one will allow you to adjust your views with your tabs and commands. For me personally, I like to see my tabs and my commands. I like to see all of it. These are my sheet tabs: home, insert, draw, page layout, formulas. So I've got all these sheet tabs across the top, and in each of the sheet tabs, I've got a grouping: the clipboard grouping, the font grouping, the alignment grouping. And then on some of these groupings, we've got what's called a More button, and it'll let you find more options that deal with that grouping. So you can use your More button to find things also. All right, I'm going to just mention a few things to you very quickly in Excel and hopefully give you kind of a quick idea. Some people think Excel is about numbers, and it really is not. Excel doesn't care one bit about numbers. Excel is all about a cell reference. So Excel is also about cell references and patterns. So that's what you kind of got to remember as you make your way through. Excel could care less what numbers you have in there. However, if I type my name in there and I put a number in there, the number always aligns itself to the right. That lets Excel know, hey, we can calculate this. But if I put text in there, like my name or any kind of text, it aligns to the left. Now, can I go up here and re-identify that? Like, for example, can I move the word text to a right align? I absolutely can. It does not change the status of it at all. It just simply, when you type things in, it will type it to the alignment that Excel knows that it can be calculatable or non-calculatable. So the 24 will always be right aligned, any number will be right aligned, and any text will be left aligned. Okay? Now, if you would like to take text out of a cell, you don't click in it and hit backspace or hit the space bar. You never ever want to do that. However, it does seem as though it's taken the text out of there. It's actually added one character in there. When you hit the space bar, it gives it one character, and if you're completing some formulas, that one character can throw everything off. So if you're going to remove text from cells, I recommend you select the cells and hit delete on your keyboard. That is the most effective way. Or you could come right up here under your cells grouping and you could say delete those cells. Or you could come up under your format and say that you would like to clear the contents of that. So you've got options. The easiest thing for you guys to do, here it is, clear your contents. But the easiest way for you guys to do that is just to select your cells and hit delete on your keyboard, and that's probably the quickest way to do it. Now let's just take a look at this right here. I want to share a couple of things with you. Because I told you Excel is about patterns. So if I wanted to do something with a pattern, test, maybe I have test 1. Oh, let's talk about this. You see what I had to do in order to make a modification to this text right here? I can click once and it selects it and it tells me I'm on cell C1. But in order for me to edit it, I've got to double click, knock, knock, let me in, knock, knock, let me in. Now I can make a modification. Now I can say text 1. Now the other way that I could have modified that is to select it one time and come up here to my formula bar. If I click on my formula bar, I can also make edits from there. When I'm done, I just hit enter. Every time you're going to put content into a cell, you have to do what I call sealing the cell. You've got to click away. You have to hit enter. You have to hit tab. You've got to click out of the cell in order to, quote, seal it. That's my own terms. That's not a technical term. But it kind of lets you know. So after I type that text, I hit enter. I'm going to come back up here. I want to share with you a couple of ways that my mouse can look. Right now, it's got what I call it the big old Fat Daddy. And the Fat Daddy allows you to select. To select a range of cells, you just simply click in the cell and drag your mouse. That will select a range of cells. Right now, I have the range of cells from A1 to A3 selected. Right now, I have the range of cells from D1 to F6 selected. Right now, I have the range of cells from G1 through G3 selected. So that's how you select your cells. You click inside the cell with your big fat daddy and just drag with your mouse. Now, in a minute, I'm going to share some other things with you, and you're going to forget how to select. You're asking, why did I just teach you how to select on multiple ranges? Because in a minute, you're going to forget how to select when I share some other things with you. Because we also have what we call the move. So you can move things just like you did in Word. You can move things, and it may ask you to move. As a matter of fact, this method of moving is the best method of moving in Excel, because typically, like in Word, you might do Control-C to copy. And in Excel, whenever you do that, you get your marquee, and then for some people that gets it confusing. So if I just needed to move something, I wouldn't copy it. I would get my four-headed arrow on the edge of the cell and move it. Just click, hold, and drag, 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 and you can move that text. Now, there is another place on the cell. So when you look at your active cell, you can get a four-headed arrow anywhere on this outside piece, except this corner right here. We're going to talk about that in just a second. To select, you click on the inside and you move your mouse. To move, you click on the outside with your four-headed arrow and move. Now, I want to talk about this other little piece right here in the corner. This little square in the corner, it's called your fill handle. I call it the skinny mini. Get your little skinny mini, which is your fill handle, and it allows you to fill, because Excel is based off of patterns. If I want to fill something in, the days of the week, the months of the year, test 1, 2, 3, and 4, I can select my cell and get my fill handle and fill that content in. And later on, whenever we get to some of the formulas, you'll learn how to place a formula into one cell and fill that, because what it's filling is the pattern that's based in there. All right, so I could do Jan or January, just like I did Sun or Sunday. Seal my cell, right? I got to click out of it to seal it, and then I can get my fill handle. So there are three main things that your mouse can take on, and your mouse can either be what I call this fat daddy, which allows you to select when you click in the center of your cell. You can get the move, which is on every part of the outside except the bottom right corner, and you can move your content. Or you can get the fill handle in the very bottom right and fill. All right? So sometimes people, I'll see them do this. They'll go 1, enter, 2, enter, and I'm like, what are you doing? 3, enter, 4, enter. I want to number these items. No, no, no. I'm going to delete this text here, select it, and hit delete on my keyboard, and I'm going to type in 1, enter, and you're going to revert back very quickly and say, oh, you can fill that in, can't you? And you absolutely can. But there is a trick to it. It's kind of like a toddler. If I'm talking to my toddler son, now he's a teenager now, but when I talked to him when he was a child, if I were to say, you know, Tanner, you have to the count of 3, and I say 1, and I pause, he's going to look at me and say 1 right back. And Excel just has nothing to go off of here. But if I look at my child as a toddler and I say, you have to the count of 3, 1, 2, my toddler is going to look at me and say 3. So I've got to give it options, a pattern. I've got to give it that pattern. See, up here, it's already identified in the computer that January and February go together. It's already identified in a list that Sunday and Monday go together. This here, when you go from test 1, 2, 3, 4, it's all calculated, pre-calculated in the computer. But to go from 1 to 2 is not pre-calculated. So you have to tell it, I want to count 1, 2. If I look at my son as a toddler and I say, you have to the count of 3, 1, 2, he's going to say 3. I select both of those. I get my fill handle and drag, and now I can count. But it will do this with any multiples. If I want to count by 3s, I can say 3, 6, and I can count. If I want to count by 5s, I can say 5, 10, and I can fill that in, right? So Excel is really a lot about cell references and patterns. And as we make our way through our studies for our certification test, these are some of the basic things that you will need to know. You need to know the basic layout first to start off with. You need to know that we've got tabs going across the top, right? You also need to know that in those tabs you've got a group, and after your groups you've got your more button if there's more content there that you need. All right, you're going to need to know this name box. This name box is going to be very helpful. In some assignments, it's going to ask you to define a name for your cells, and this here might be called the days of the week. So if I define this as the days of the week, and I come up here to my name box, I can click this down arrow and it will tell me, do you want to go to the days of the week? So this name box is going to become important to you as we make our way through our assessments and trying to study toward our certification. Okay, also you need to make sure that you understand that you have cell identification. I'm in cell B1. You also need to make sure that you understand that you can have text, you can have numbers, you can move these anywhere within your cell, doesn't matter. But you cannot calculate text. You can only calculate a number. Okay? Now, after we get into this a little bit, you'll realize that you can calculate a range of cells. Like I, for example, might say, go to the days of the week and calculate that with something. So that will become more familiar with you as we go. But hopefully this quick little introduction of Excel, just sharing with you the basics of it, sharing with you the selector, what I call the Fat Daddy, sharing with you...
You'd like to hear the song Share With You?
No thanks, Alexa, but I appreciate that. So I can use my four-headed arrow and move things around. All right, and I can also use my fill handle if I wanted to and fill things in. So hopefully that is a quick little introduction for you so that you can get a little idea of what Excel is all about. I wish you luck. The next video that you watch will hopefully be some helper videos and some videos that will get you through your assessments so that you can, your practice assessment, so you can study for that certification test.